So right at the beginning, I want to tell you that I used to drive distracted. I'd be a hypocrite if I stood up here and I didn't tell you that right at the beginning. I changed the way I drive because someone I love very much was killed by a distracted driver. And I'll talk to you about that in just a moment. I also know, and it wasn't the case with your school, but sometimes the schools will have me come and they'll say, oh, talk to our teens, they're nuts, the texting, the Snapchat, the Instagram. And you know what I tell them? The teens are the ones who are going to change the way we drive. You guys are a lot smarter than your parents. You're a lot smarter than me. You're more open to new ideas, and that's the way young people are. They're open and they're flexible. The other thing is, a lot of people take shots at your generation. You know, we hear, oh, they're addicted to technology, they're lazy, they're entitled. That's the one I hear all the time about you guys. The studies show you guys are actually the most caring generation that's come along. You care about the community, you care about causes, you care about your friends. So I know you've heard friends don't let friends drive drunk. By the end of this, I hope you're going to think that friends shouldn't let friends drive distracted, because today more of you will be killed or seriously injured as a result of distracted driving than drunk driving. So if we wouldn't let a friend drive drunk, we shouldn't let a friend drive distracted. The other thing is, I hate it when people tell me what to do. You got your arms crossed. You probably don't like it when people tell you what to do, right? Right? Kind of, yeah. So I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. You guys can figure this out for yourselves. Telling people what to do doesn't really change attitudes and behaviors, and we're just going to talk about distracted driving. So there's basically three types of distractions. We have manual, or you're holding on to the steering wheel, or what I used to do is I would have a yogurt in one hand, I'd have the spoon in the other hand on my commute to work, and I would steer with my knees. Visual, or you're looking at the road, and we're going to talk a lot about cell phone use, because that's really something that's important. We're all sort of at some level addicted to it, but I just want to make the point that it's not just cell phone use that can cause us problems. So are we looking at the road? Are we looking at our phones? I'll give you a quick example from a case that I had years ago. This is testimony from the courtroom. The defendant driver was a dump truck driver. I was asking him what happened to cause the crash. One lane in this direction, one lane coming back, and this is what he said. He said, I'll show you what happened. I had my hands on the steering wheel like this. I was going by a 7-Eleven. I saw a really hot girl walking into the 7-Eleven, and this is what I did. His truck went over the double yellow line, hit my client's car, killed their 4-year-old son. Every day in this country, 10, 12 people are killed through distracted driving. But when I left that hearing, I was on my phone. So it's a habit for a lot of us. It's still, occasionally when I drive, I'm still tempted to use my phone. So I'm just going to pick you three right here. Just watch this video. I just want your reaction to it. One-word reaction. What's your reaction?
Preoccupied.
That was just dumb.
No words.
A loss for words. Anybody else? What'd you guys think? Yes. Downright stupid? Yes. Impressive. I hear that from time to time, and I guess in a manner of speaking, it is kind of impressive that he could do all those things without getting into a crash, but that's a really good point. I drove distracted all the time. I would text, I would email, I would read papers. Hey, guys. I'd text, I'd emails, read papers, and I wasn't in a crash, but I had some close calls. So for those of you who do text and drive or Snapchat, whatever it might be, most of us haven't been in a crash because the people who have been in a crash, they change the way they drive. So why we're here is do we really need to be in that crash for us to change the way I drive? So thanks. What I'm also hearing from students is that it's selfish. I hear that a lot from students, selfish. And actually on the left-hand side is what I hear from adults. Not that you guys aren't adults, we'll just say from older adults. I hear shocking, crazy, dangerous, and on the right, I hear selfish, irresponsible, and disrespectful. Anybody want to take a shot at what's the difference between the two columns? Anybody? Yes, I can't come over there, but why don't you yell it? Couldn't hear that, I apologize. Okay, so one side it's kind of surprise and shock that it's happening, the other side doesn't agree with it. What some people have also said is the right-hand side, what teens are willing to do is hold the driver personally accountable for his or her actions. And I think that's really a neat thing. So somebody's probably really good in math here. Anybody really good in math? Somebody? What do you think? C, he's correct. C, absolutely. More than 300 feet. If you want... So what this gentleman hasn't told you yet is that he knows the underlying formula. Now, I'm not going to ask him for it because I know he knows it, but it's basically for every 10 miles per hour you go, you travel 15 feet per second. For every 10 miles per hour, 15 feet per second, 55 miles an hour, about 82 feet per second, 4 times 82, 320 feet.
Sarah always wants to be connected, and she often tweets or texts while driving. How far will Sarah go while looking away from the road? More than an entire football field. Driving the length of a football field without looking at the road is selfish driving. Caring drivers respect everyone's safety. What kind of driver will you be?
So there are lots of stories, lots of sad stories, unfortunately. Little X, as his family calls him, is still alive. He was walking across the street. His big sister was holding his hand. He was kind of in front of her, kind of pulling her across the street, maybe a step and a half in front of her. And as they're in the crosswalk, broad daylight, a 22-year-old was texting. She doesn't see that they're in a crosswalk. She hits him, rips him out of his sister's hand. She's dragging him down the road. I heard that people on the side of the road had to scream and yell at her to stop because she was so focused on her text, she didn't realize what she was doing. Little X suffered a spinal cord injury. The spinal cord injury, he'll never walk again, but the spinal cord injury is so high that he can't even breathe for himself. Each and every breath he takes for the rest of his life, hooked to a machine. So when I think about the selfishness of distracted driving, texting, because it's all about the person who's doing it, I think about little X, and there's no better example. So that's the picture of my daughter, Casey. She was killed by a distracted driver, and that's why I changed the way that I drive. And actually, I remember when this picture was taken. She was killed between her junior and senior years of college, but that was taken actually just before she was graduating from high school. And I remember looking at the picture and thinking what an incredible future she had in front of her, and she did, but taken away in just a few seconds. So when I look at this room, look at each and every one of you, that's what you have. You have that incredible future. So I can't bring Casey back, but I figured I can at least try somehow to see if you guys can think about this, make some better decisions so that you guys have the future we all want you to have. Now, you guys know what the Today Show is? Oh, great, okay. Last school I went to, they didn't know what the Today Show was. So I'm going to play this video. You get a chance to meet my wife. It was kind of cool to be on the Today Show. but I want you to meet my wife and listen to her.
Casey's crash occurred on July 17th, 2009. It was around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was broad daylight. She had had a summer job in Ocean City on the boardwalk. She was walking in a crosswalk, was 3/4 of the way across the intersection when a driver blew through the stop sign and literally ran her over. He claimed he had never seen her. She was conscious after she was run over, and she was able to speak with the emergency responders. And the first thing that she said when they asked her how the accident occurred, she said, "I want my mom."
I was shocked, I was angry, and I think that then, of course, it led into grief. Although it's been 6 years, it's just really, really hard each and every day.
Besides being just a young woman who was so full of life, she was also just a lot of fun and had a great sense of humor, and she was a person that everybody wanted to be around.
I go to weddings now, and they're as painful as you can imagine. Seeing the dad walk down the aisle or that first dance with his daughter, knowing that'll never happen. We started End Distracted Driving, EndDD.org, and the mission is to educate the public about distracted driving. What I'd like people to remember is that we have the power through our driving to take lives, but we also have the power to save lives. I want people to look at that pretty face, to learn about Casey, but I also want them to think that the pictures that we have of Casey, they show an unlimited future, an unlimited potential, and it was taken away in just a few seconds. So actually, I just thought of something. That pink prom dress she had in the video, I remember I took her shopping for that. Boy, Casey comes to me and she says, "Dad, we're going to go shopping for it was her senior prom, my prom dress tomorrow morning." I said, "You don't want me to go, take Mom." "Well, Mom can't do it, and I need to get it fitted and altered and all that." And I said, "You don't want me to come, Casey. What do I know about this?" She said, "Dad, just come and bring your credit card. Everything will be fine." So we get to the store, and a very nice saleswoman, she comes up to us, and the mistake she made is she came up to me, and she said, "Sir, can I help you?" And Casey kind of pushed me to the side. She said, "You're going to be dealing with me, Dad. You just sit over there and pay." So she had a ton of confidence, and I know that after she was killed, a lot of her friends reached out to us, and we kept hearing that Casey was their best friend. 6, 7, 8 young ladies told us that. And, I just wondered about it, and they all pretty much told me that they could tell Casey anything, and she would never gossip about it, and she'd never judge them. And that's why they considered Casey their best friend. So in the video, I talk about we have the power to take lives. Well, that's obvious. If you're driving down the road, you kill somebody. But I want to focus on the power to save lives, making safer decisions for ourselves and also as passengers. If we're a passenger, you know this guy right here? Okay, so he's stumbling out of a party. He's drunk. He's got his car keys. He's going to his car. What are you going to do? Tell him not to drive? Take his car keys, yeah. We don't quite do that yet with cell phones, and perhaps we should, and I hope you'll think about that as we go along. I used to say Casey died. Today I say she was killed because a 58-year-old man made a choice. He made a choice to take his eyes off the road, reach across the street across the seat for his GPS, roll through a stop sign, hit Casey, and kill her. So today I say she was killed. If I had your moms and dads here right now and I said to them, "Moms and dads, who are the most important people in the world to you?" Who are they going to say? Us. Yes, absolutely. Us. Me. Yeah. Do we have any moms or dads here? Any moms or dads in the room? Moms or dads, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up, all of you. Okay. Keep your hands up if you do anything to keep your children safe. All right, now, we've got all your hands up, moms and dads. Only keep your hands up if you've never driven distracted with your kids in the car. Look at all the hands come down. So when they tell you that distracted driving is a teen problem, yes, teens drive distracted, but don't let them get away with it. And I know your moms and dads drive distracted too. So let's do that one. Raise your hands if your moms and dads drive distracted with you in the car. Keep them up and look around. Keep them up and look around. How many of you? All right. So, I used to think I was a really good role model for Casey and her little brother and my son Brett. And I think I was in a lot of respects, but certainly wasn't when it comes to driving. This young lady put up 2 hands. I don't know if that's because it's mom and dad. Yep, you want to share like what mom does and then what dad does?
They just both text and drive when they're not supposed to.
So of course the law in Pennsylvania is you're never supposed to text and drive when you're driving. Okay, so they break the law, you're in the car. I mean, I think about that now looking back at it, how I could do that. My children are the most important people in the world to me. If my wife was seated here right now and you asked me who are the most important people in the world to me, I would say Casey and her little brother Brett. She'd be fine with it. She'd want to be a really close second, but that's the way it is with moms and dads and our kids. So we drive distracted with our kids in the car. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
What are you doing? You can't text and drive.
It's not texting, I'm changing the music. There's no law against that.
But it's distracting. What else is distracting but not illegal? You're fat.
Yes! Beat the level.
Nice.
Shut up. No, cilantro next, not basil. Stop! Apparently lots of things are distracting.
Well, remember, just because they're not illegal doesn't mean they're safe.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't do any of those things.
Still got cilantro in my teeth.
You know, I'm going to be at West Penn doing a talk later, and Scott, we'll see if this happens, but whenever I play this video at businesses, this video, not a single adult laughs when one kid looks at the other kid and says you're fat. Not a single one. And we'll just see what kind of crew we have later, all right? So our organization is EndDistractedDriving.org, and we sponsor a lot of contests. This past year, we sponsored a video and meme contest. I'm going to show you the first place winner. First place winner got $5,000 and tickets to any concert they wanted to go see in the U.S. It was 4 tickets, and they went to see Bruno Mars. So we're going to do that again this year. What do you think about this? You think most don't? Most 16 to 18-year-olds don't? You think that's true, or you think that's false? What do you think? He doesn't know. We have a false. Who said false? You? Okay. So hold it, guys. So this young lady said false, so you think that most 16 to 18-year-olds do text and drive? Yeah. Okay. Is that from things that you've seen of your friends and all? Yeah. Okay. So so for me, I look at this as an opportunity that maybe after listening to this, maybe you could go out there and the next time you're in a car, you could talk to people about it. Let's just see what the real facts are. It's actually true. This is a national study. I don't know if it's worse here in your community, but this is a national study, and you'll see that it's repeated. I'll show you the actual stats. It's been repeated 3 times. And so 16 to 18-year-olds, it's about a third. The shocking thing to me is the 19 to 24-year-olds is now up to 60%, and the 25 to 39-year-olds. So they're all increasing, and you guys are kind of staying the same. Now, that 1/3 of you do text and drive, is troubling, but the positive part is 2/3 of you guys don't. So if you happen to be a person who texts when they drive, maybe you'll look at this and you'll say, I'm not in the majority, I'm in the minority. And if you happen to be a person who doesn't text and drive, maybe this should give you some confidence in terms of speaking up. So this is the video that won that $5,000 in those concert tickets.
You know that this cap and gun is pretty dope for this year.
Yeah, bro, so it's gonna be lit.
When do you say dope?
It's gonna look super dope.
It's not fair that I get to graduate this summer. It's not fair that I get to go to college.
Scary movies and you like hit someone?
You still haven't been on the flyers? Wow. It's not even all that.
It's not fair that I get to follow my dreams, meet the one, and have a family someday.
Just think how her eyes get all lit up to the side.
Not my cousin. Dated my cousin. He's so far from it.
It's not fair that I get to live, and they don't.
So we are going to be doing the contest again. There's also a meme side of it. So we picked the first place winner for memes and the first place winner for videos. So it'd be great if some of you guys wanted to enter that contest. So oftentimes I'll hear from teens, well, I'd like them to drive safer. I'd like my driver to drive safer, but, you know, it's their car. I don't want to speak up. What comes to mind when we say the phrase peer pressure? What comes to mind? In the hat. Yep, you. What comes to mind? Getting people to do things that they don't want to do. Generally, we think about it in terms of drugs, drinking, sex maybe, that kind of stuff. So that's what most people think, but there's another side of it. The other side of it is positive peer pressure, not negative peer pressure, and all the studies show you guys have tremendous influence over each other. If any of you was a little bit on the fence about speaking up, if your driver drives distracted, these stats should encourage you. 90% say they'd stop if a friend in the car asked them to. 44% say they'd be thankful. You wouldn't let someone drive drunk because you care about them and you know they could get killed or kill somebody else. And the people know that you care about them. So you'll be sitting in a car, maybe even today when you go home from school, and you have a choice. If your driver drives distracted, you can sit there, hope nothing bad happens, or you can speak up. And we'll talk in a moment about how you speak up. I never got to meet Andrew, but I met his best friend, Julian. Part of Julian's criminal sentence was to go out and tell his story, to go out and tell what he did, and his story is really simple. We were coming back from baseball practice. I had my best friend, Andrew, in the front seat. I was texting my girlfriend. I ran off the road, I flipped the car, and I killed my best friend. So I saw him in a big conference, and he told his story. It was difficult for him, and it's good that he tells it. It's very effective, I think, with teens. But I got to talk to him afterwards. I was alone with him. I just asked him a simple question. I just said, what would have happened if Andrew had said, let me text for you? And he lost it. He just sobbed, and he said, my best friend would still be alive. So that's why this is so important. You guys have the power to influence each other's decisions. You know that. Think about influencing them for good. So, how many of you know what bystander intervention is? Bystander intervention. All right, so bystander intervention is when someone sees something going on, and again, you have a choice, and they decide to get involved, speak up. Traditionally, we hear about this with respect to bullying. See something, say something, intervene, that kind of thing. What we're going to do now is, there's a lunatic, crazy, distracted driver here. Terrible. Just, it's unbelievable what she does. And her name is?
Kaylee Smith.
Kaylee Smith. And Kaylee has a friend who, unbelievably, will still get in the car with her and go places. And who's her friend?
Brianna Fitzwater.
So we've got Kaylee and Brianna. Come on up here, Kaylee and Brianna. Come on up here. I'm going to have Kaylee right here, my driver. Brianna right next to her in the front seat, and I'm going to kind of be behind here with the microphone. and we'll just kind of see what happens. The first thing I'm going to do to get it started is I'm just going to say, Kaylee, where are you taking Brianna? And then we'll know what to start. And when I go back and forth, just wait for the microphone so everybody can hear what we do. Let's just see what happens. Get a little closer together. Where are you guys going?
Where do you want to go? Okay, we're going to the mall.
Okay.
We're driving.
Kaylee, stop texting. You're distracting yourself.
I just have to send this text real quick. Just give me a second.
Kaylee, stop. It's not that important.
Let me send the Snapchat. Just a quick second.
You're being selfish.
Brianna, chill out. It's my car. Get out if you don't like it.
Please stop. You're going to wreck and die.
1 second, Bri.
All right, so kind of tough. You'd throw your friend out like that? You'd throw her out. So I guess we should hear this. She's thrown you out of the car before?
No.
Okay. All right, so, you know, we fool around with it, but we want you to speak up. Do you have any you want to just comment on like a real-life situation one of you been in similar?
I think I've done it before, where I've been in the car and with my parents.
And do your parents listen to you if you ask them to speak up? If you ask them to stop driving distracted?
Yeah.
Okay, great. How about you?
Well, I actually got into an accident because of a distracted driver. I was driving home from work one day, and this car swerved into my lane and hit me because they were distracted. I don't know what by, though.
Well, let's give these guys a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So this bystander intervention is a three-step process. Now, it's non-confrontational. Whether you're talking to your parents or your friends, you want to be respectful. You want to be respectful. You couldn't come up to a friend, let's say this guy's my driver and he's Snapchatting, forgive me in advance for what I'm going to say. It's not going to work if you do something like this. Hey, you're an idiot, you're crazy, you're the worst driver I've ever seen, you're going to kill us. How'd you ever get your license? That's a non-starter. That's a non-starter. What we want to do is we want to just say calmly, hey, every time you look at your phone, you take your eyes off the road. And then the next step is we're entitled to tell people our feelings. Now, we don't want to blame someone for how we feel, and this is a difference between using I statements and you statements. You're scaring me. That shuts down the whole conversation because I'm blaming him. I'm a little nervous. Would you get pissed off if I told you I'm a little nervous?
Yeah.
You would?
I would.
You would?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have a hard case. Sometimes you have a really hard case. Okay. So most people wouldn't get pissed off, but you could run into people like this guy. The next step, the most important part, is solve the problem. Hey, let me text for you. You know, he may not want me to text for him, but at least you're having a conversation. And those statistics about positive peer pressure show you that if you take the shot, you take a chance, you're likely to change the behavior of your friend. I just want to go back quickly to the one I talked to you about, Julian and killing his best friend. It just reminded me, I talked to someone, I guess she was 25 or 26 years old. She had killed someone. She was driving, she was texting, and oftentimes I talk to not only families who've lost children like me, but also the killers, the people who've killed through their distracted driving. And she told me that she was going to be spending 30 days in jail. She was going to go in for 2 days each weekend for 15 days. So I talked to her after the weekend and asked her what happened. And she said she got there, and they were very rude to her. Of course, that you're not all that polite oftentimes when you get to jail. And they put her in what's called a holding, after they strip searched her, they put her in a holding cell, and with lots of other people, and she sat there from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the morning with 12 other women, and there was no place to sit down. There was a toilet right in the middle, just open. And that was her first experience. And then they said they finally took her to a cell, and she could barely talk to me. And she said she heard what it's like when you're in there and they close the door and it bangs shut. And she said, I never could imagine what that's like. And so for the next 15 or 14 weekends, that's where she'll be. You know, if you kill someone, you're driving drunk, you're going to jail. you're going to jail now in Pennsylvania if you do that as well for texting or Snapchat. That's the way the law has changed. So we want you to talk about this, acknowledge the behavior. Acknowledge the behavior. If you care about your friends and care about yourself, we hope you'll do this. Using I statements, just tell them how you feel. Don't blame them for how you feel. And this I versus you statement, it's not just for distracted driving. It's actually in interpersonal communications and all. Talking with someone, don't tell someone they're, you're disrespecting me, you're making me angry. Just tell them how you feel with an I statement. The conversation will go a lot further. But offer a solution, solve the problem, share responsibility of the driver for getting there safely. All of you already do this as passengers. If you saw a deer run out in front of the car, you'd scream at the driver, look out. If you saw a kid, you'd say, look out. Just do it before you start driving and before the driver takes out his or her cell phone.
Ready, ready! Say hi!
Pretty silly, right? Who'd take their phone out on the field? You play any sports? Lacrosse. So the coach isn't looking, you take out your phone, you Snapchat, send some stuff out to friends, right? You don't do that? No? Do you drive? So I've already admitted that I texted and I emailed when I drive. Have you ever done that occasionally? Okay. So I appreciate your honesty. So you wouldn't take your phone out and use it playing lacrosse, but like me, you'll use it when you're driving your car. I don't know. Ashley had her license for about 2 months. She was texting. She ran off the road, hit a tree, and it sounds awful when I say this, but killed herself, died. So these next videos you'll see, there was a camera. What had happened was the kids had been in a crash, and they agreed with this driving school to put cameras in the kids' car just to monitor them. So there was a camera on the kid's face, but there's also a camera on the road, and you can see what's going on when they're looking at their phones.
Hold on.
So a lot can happen in just a few seconds. A lot can happen in just a few seconds. So using the cell phone and talking with front seat passengers were found to be the biggest source of distraction in this overall study. These are what I call the excuses that I hear a lot. Is anybody here a good multitasker? Well, why don't we see how good you are? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you, well, first tell everybody what you think multitasking is.
Whenever you can do like more than one thing at a time.
Yeah. I'm just going to modify that. I'm not talking about patting your head and rubbing your stomach. We're talking about cognitive things, thinking that you have to think about, okay? So that's what we're talking about. So we're going to do this cognitive experiment twice. The first way is kind of easy, and I'll just have you count from 1 to 10. I'll give you the mic. And then as soon as you finish with 10, go A through J. 1 to 10, A, B, C, all the way up to J. Now, why don't you just stand up so folks can see it? We can do it right here.
Run or anything? All right. We all ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A through what? All right. A, B, C, D, E, F, J. Wait. I messed it up. My bad. I got nervous. Wait, what are we doing? A through what?
A through J. Do it again.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Right. My bad.
Okay, no, you're not done.
All right, not done yet?
No. So we were talking about multitasking, doing two things at the same time. What I just had this gentleman do was 2 tasks, but he did them in a series. He finished one, the numbers, then he went on to the letters. Now we're going to multitask and combine them. Do it a little differently. Just go 1A, 2B, all the way to 10J.
Wait, I don't get it.
1A, 2B.
Okay. All through what?
Through 10J.
Okay. 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, 6F. Wait, I don't know. You're making me nervous up here.
All right, so give him a round of applause. He actually did pretty well. So what the studies show is that 97.5% of us cannot really multitask. There's just 2% of us whose brains are different. They're wired, and I'm certainly not one of them. Who we really can't multitask. What we do is we switch attention from one task to the other, and our performance on each of the individual tasks suffers, as it did with this gentleman. He did it worse the second time. So what we want you to do is we want you to think about when you're driving, scrolling through music, looking at a quick text, you're losing the ability to fully concentrate on driving when you do that. Now, these are all excuses and all, but let me just pick, do you drive? Yeah. Okay. Occasionally you may have texted as well while you're driving. Okay, I appreciate your honesty. So you don't have to say anything. I just need to focus on someone, okay? So let's go to the courtroom where the man who killed my daughter is being sentenced. He's there with his lawyer. I'm there with the prosecutor and the police, and he's probably about this distance away. The judge said, "Do you want to say anything?" And I got up and I started talking about Casey, and tough to even think back about that, but thinking about what a wonderful young woman she was and how we're going to miss her. And then I turned to the man who killed my daughter, and it went something like this. "You killed my daughter. What were you thinking? What were you doing?" I only looked away for a few seconds. It's not much comfort. Each and every one of those excuses were given by people who killed others when they're being sentenced in the courtroom. I'm a good driver. I've never been in a crash. Nothing bad will happen. I can multitask. Everyone does it. I actually heard from a 17-year-old what she said, and this is for the moms and dads here. She said, "My mom and dad do it all the time." So, not a single one of the people who killed through their distracted driving was a criminal well, not a criminal, they're now a criminal. They weren't a criminal until that day. And I've met about 20 different people, and it's amazing what they all tell me the same thing. This is people from Utah, Massachusetts, Florida, Pennsylvania, 17-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 40-year-olds, men, women, rich, poor, just all walks of life. They all tell me the same thing. I never thought I was the type of person who could kill someone with my driving. All say it's uncanny. I'm going to be meeting someone in Massachusetts next week, and he killed someone. Never met him before. He is going to tell me that because everybody does. Everybody does. So for those of you who've texted while you've driven like I have, probably you've gotten away with it, because if you got into a really bad crash, you wouldn't be doing it anymore. So maybe we can figure out a way that you won't do it going forward, even though you haven't been in a crash, even though you didn't lose your daughter, didn't lose someone that you love like I did. That's the idea behind this. We don't want you to be in that situation. You've got your whole lives in front of you, and it can come crashing down in just a minute. If you'd asked me before Casey was killed, I would have told you I was a safe driver. Wasn't in any crashes, didn't get any tickets. Now I look back, I was a lucky driver. Now I would actually be on the, whether it be the turnpike or you know, roads, highways, and I'd be texting or something, and I'd go over to the right-hand lane, and I'd feel those rumble strips. Now they'd remind me. I'd also looked up sometimes, somebody had stopped short in front of me, and I almost slammed into the rear of them. That happened a bunch of times. What do you think? You think that till this point in time you've been a lucky driver or a safe driver?
Lucky.
So anything different that you might do as a result of listening to me today in terms of your driving? What do you think you might do the next time you get in the car?
I won't text and drive, and I'll pay attention to the road. So
I was tempted, even after Casey was killed, to use my phone, because I use my phone all the time. You're going to need a plan. Whether you hide the phone, put it in the glove compartment, do something with it, you're going to need a plan, because you just can't change your behaviors by, I mean, I believe what you're saying, that you intend to, but it's going to be tough when you get in the car if this is what you've done. If you work with your friends on it, it makes it easier. If you work as a group, to see if you can do things safer. So these are some of the things that we come up with. There are free apps that you can download from every service provider. I have AT&T. It's called Drive Mode. And if you call me when I leave here and I drive back to, I live just outside Philadelphia. When I drive back there today, you'd get a recording. If you text me or call me, it goes something like this. Hi, this is Joel. I'm driving. It's not safe to respond. I'll get back to you. What some of the students tell me is, actually, there was a student in New Jersey. He downloaded one of those apps. His dad called him, and he got that recording. And when he got home that night, his dad went up to him and said, hey, I see you downloaded that app. He said, yes. And he said, I'm really proud of you. And he gave him a $100 bill, which I thought was kind of neat. So that's kind of a, so give it a try. Give it a try. So these are some of the free apps you can download. The second bullet talks about something there. It's True Motion and EverDrive. You can basically, those are things that will actually grade your driving, because with the GPS feature of your phone, it knows if the speed limit's 25. It knows, of course, if you pick up your phone, it'll give you a driving score. My son lives in Colorado, and we have this, and we always compete each week as to who is the safer driver. So you can do that kind of thing as well. Different things you can do. If you do it with friends, you're more likely to be successful. How many of you who drive get calls or texts from your parents while you're driving and feel pressured to respond to mom or dad? Okay, so some of you. So clearly, you don't want to be in a crash, and your moms and dads don't want you to be in a crash responding to them. I had heard Liz's story, but I'd never seen her speak until I was in Louisiana, I guess a couple of years ago, and it was a gymnasium, crowded. She walked up, and I'll tell you, after I listened to her, I said, my God, what a brave young woman. She was responding to a text. She didn't see that a tractor trailer on the highway in front of her had stopped. She slammed into it. She lost an eye. She's had 17 facial reconstructive surgeries, And actually she talks about this, and she says it's not the worst thing how she looks. She's got a little bit of a brain injury. She doesn't speak all that clearly. Sometimes she says things that maybe you wouldn't. That's also the effect of a brain injury. She says the worst part was she lost all her friends. None of her friends wanted to be with her or hang out with her anymore. I have her permission to show you, because she wants people to see what she looks like now. Her mom, I met her mom then too, and her mom tells the story. She was so angry when she found out her daughter was responding to a text. Angry at her daughter, but angry at the person who had texted her daughter and caused her daughter to have this horrible, horrible, life-altering injury. She got the phone, she looked at it, and it was from her, from Mom. Where are you at, honey? Where are you at, honey? So work this out in advance with moms and dads and other people. Some students tell me what they'll do is they'll send a group text. At school, I'm leaving, and they'll put the phone on silent, they'll put it on airplane mode, they'll download an app, and then they'll tell mom and dad, well, I'll be at the mall and I'll text you when I get to the mall. So that takes away the urge to talk to people when they might be driving. So we have on our site the Family Safe Driving Agreement. You can download that, you can share that, and we want you to talk to your moms and dads. We want you to talk to other people who drive in your family, in addition to talking with your friends. We want you to talk with others so that we can all be in this together. Now, the young lady who came up, Brianna, was that right? Brianna, yeah, you're the one who had are you the one who had someone hit you as a distracted driver? Okay, so recent studies have come out. They've asked people, what are you more afraid of? Being hit by a drunk or being hit by a distracted driver? Overwhelmingly, people say today, being hit by distracted drivers. So more people are afraid today of being hurt by a distracted driver. When you're a driver, you're responsible for yourself, but also the people who are in your car, your passengers. How do you protect yourself from other distracted drivers? Well, they say you should scan the road. You should look around. You should look and see, even if you have the green light, the guy who's coming who should be stopping from the side for his red light, assume that he's not going to stop because he's looking at his phone. So slow and be able to avoid it. These are some of the things that you do. You can't be a defensive driver. That's what we're talking about, looking out for the other guy. You can't be a defensive driver if you're a distracted driver. So I haven't really talked too much about cognitive distractions. We're pretty much out of time. We did, with respect to that multitasking exercise, and this is probably more for your moms and dads than you, because I just picked somebody. Roughly how many texts, tweets, Snapchat, Instagram do you do a day compared to actually making an old-fashioned phone call?
A lot more. I don't know.
So when in talking with students, I hear 50 to 75 of the texts, the tweets, and all that stuff, and 2 or 3 phone calls a day. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Your moms and dads probably be different, some of them. So they're going to tell you if they're hands-free, it's safer. I don't have time to go into it, but hands-free is not necessarily safer because your mind is still engaged. So what I want to do is I just want to kind of leave you with this. We have I'll just say quickly, pink was Casey's favorite color, so I always wear pink when I do a talk. And we have all these pink wristbands here. What's your favorite color? Pink? What's your favorite color? Blue? Okay, so I'm just going to show you real quickly. I wear a pink wristband to remember Casey, but I also wristbands given to me by moms and dads. Actually, it's never dad. It would always be your mom. If you died, your favorite color, the wristband that your mom would give me to remember you. And these are just the girls over here. And I don't know if it's my wife's face I see, or I see the faces of what would be your moms giving me this wristband, sobbing, talking about their child, talking about remembering their dead child, and working so that this doesn't happen to anyone else. So when I leave schools, I think about it and say, gosh, did I do everything I did so that you guys can make good choices as drivers and passengers? Did I do everything I could? Because if anything happened to you, I'd feel responsible for it. Somebody said to me the other day, well, Mr. Feldman, maybe you should feel responsible, maybe you shouldn't, but shouldn't we, the community, this school, shouldn't we feel responsible because now we know what we can do to keep our friends safe? Shouldn't we feel responsible if something happened to someone else? So these are the ones for the guys. There's one here that I got from a 19-year-old boy. He gave it to me. His 17-year-old little brother was driving, was texting, ran off the road and died. And you want to talk about somebody he could barely talk, he was sobbing. He gave me this one to remember his little brother, and he said to me, you think my little brother died when he was texting because he saw me texting all the time when I drove him. So if your moms and dads drive distracted, you don't have to drive like your moms and dads. You don't. And if they drive distracted, who's going to teach your little brothers and sisters to drive safely?